Eden 6 was a quiet place. It wasn't a city. It wasn't important. It was just a green, peaceful farming colony far away from Earth. The sun rose early and warmed the wide fields. Crops danced in the soft wind. Children played near the tractors. Farmers smiled and waved at each other. Life was simple here, and that's exactly how the people liked it. No war, no politics, no problems, just hard work and peace. But far above Eden 6, something cold and massive floated into orbit. Warship, then another, then 10 more. The Varnock Dominion, the most powerful empire in the galaxy, had arrived. They called this mission Harvest Fire. Their goal was simple: land, take resources, and leave no humans alive. The Varnock did not care for treaties or warnings. To them, Eden 6 was just a weak colony, a soft fruit ready to be crushed. They had no idea what waited for them below. As the Varnock fleet moved into position, the farmers on Eden 6 continued their daily work. A young girl chased a dog across a wheat field. An old man sat on his porch, watching the sky. He saw the dark shapes appear. His eyes narrowed. He didn't look scared. He stood up slowly, went inside, and opened a hidden trapdoor under his floor. Below, dust rose as he walked down into darkness. He reached a small device, a black radio box with a single red switch. His fingers hovered over it. In the sky, the Varnock commander smiled. The humans hadn't even noticed them. He gave the order. Dropships launched toward the surface, cutting through the clouds like falling knives. Explosions shook the ground as the Varnock began landing. Soldiers in thick armor marched through the wheat fields. They expected screaming, panic, resistance. But nothing. The fields were empty. Too empty. Varnock patrols searched houses and barns. They found food, old tools, and quiet rooms. No soldiers. No weapons. Just family photos and clean kitchens. One officer laughed and called it a ghost colony. He reported back, "No defenses. This will be over in an hour." But then strange. Things started to happen. One of the dropships lost power midair and crashed into a lake. Another landed, then exploded without warning. The Varnock blamed mechanical errors, but engineers found no problems. Patrols disappeared into cornfields and never returned. One squad radioed. "We saw movement. Humanoid. Fast." Then went silent. Back in orbit, the Varnock flagship picked up a strange signal from the surface. It was a very old human code, one they didn't recognize. The translation came in slowly. 3 words. "Let them land." The Varnock commander frowned. Who sent that? On the ground, a man wearing dirty overalls walked to the edge of a field. He looked like just another farmer. But on his wrist was a metal band blinking red. He pressed it. The ground beneath him vibrated. Across the colony, hidden doors began to open in the soil, and metal towers slowly rose from silos that had once held grain. Strange humming sounds filled the air. Deep underground, machines began to wake. The old man with the radio stood beside a glowing screen now. His face was calm, but his eyes were hard. A voice crackled through the speaker. "This is Command Echo. Do we have visual?" The man replied, "Varnock, troops are here."
How about
1,000 on foot? More coming? "They don't know yet," the voice said. "Do you wish to proceed?" The old man paused. Then he answered, "Protocol Iron Harvest. Full activation." On the Varnock side, confusion turned to fear. Their scanners began to fail. Static filled their comms. Maps showed new structures rising in places where there had only been fields. Enemy units were appearing out of nowhere. One officer whispered, "This isn't a farm. It's something else." But it was too late. The ground opened, and long-barreled cannons rose from below. Drone swarms poured from barn rooftops. The people they thought were farmers began to walk into the open. Wearing strange, old-style armor that shimmered with power, these weren't civilians. These were something else. As the first Varnock tank exploded from a hidden mine, the old man in the bunker watched the sky calmly. He spoke again into his radio. "Tell Earth. The Varnock struck a human farm. Let's remind them why that's a bad idea." And far away, Somewhere deep in space, a signal began its journey back to Earth. Humanity had just been warned. Now, it was time to respond. The sky over at Inzix turned quiet again, but only for a moment. Thick smoke floated up from the fields where Varnak soldiers had landed. Their equipment sparked and failed. Their radios were filled with static. The farmland they thought was peaceful had become a trap. One squad of Varnak troopers marched through a cornfield, confused and frustrated. "We should have taken this place in minutes," one of them said. Another answered, "These humans were supposed to be weak. Where are their armies?" As they pushed deeper, they found something strange. A barn that looked untouched. The doors were wide open. Inside there were no animals, no farming tools, just darkness. One soldier stepped forward. His helmet light flicked on and caught. Something rose of tall, dark shapes, silent, waiting. Then one of the shapes moved. It wasn't a tool. It was a suit, a combat exosuit, black as night. Its eyes lit up with a cold blue glow. The soldier didn't even have time to scream. Above ground, far across the fields, other doors opened silently beneath the soil. Long metal arms rose up, covered in dirt and roots. Machines that had slept for years began to hum. A massive cannon unfolded from a fake water tower. Old windmills turned, not from the wind, but to charge hidden batteries. The farm was waking up. And it wasn't just a farm anymore. Underground, the core of Eden 6 came online. Screens lit up. Synthetic voice spoke. Gauntlet AI system fully active. Defense protocols restored. All combat nodes responding. The farm's hidden brain had returned in one of the hidden bunkers. The old man who had activated the red switch was standing before a glowing map. Dozens of red dots showed Varnak locations. One turned black, then another, then 3 more. One of the other humans walked up behind him. "The machines are responding faster than expected," she said. "We buried them well," he replied. "Now it's their turn to dig their own graves." Not far away, a group of farmers gathered near what looked like a grain silo. One of them pulled off his shirt to reveal a strange old patch on his arm, a faded Earth's military symbol, the mark of a Death World veteran. These weren't civilians. They were survivors of Earth's deadliest battles. After the last war, they had been scattered, told to retire quietly. But they hadn't stopped preparing. "We trained for this," said one man, as he fitted an old helmet to his head. "We always knew the stars would come knocking again." In orbit, Varnak commanders still didn't understand what was happening. Their reports made no sense. "The colony has no registered weapons," one officer argued. "It was listed as a food producer, nothing more." Another replied then, "Explain how we've lost 4 platoons already. Something is here, something we didn't see." Back on the ground, a captured Varnak soldier sat tied inside a wooden shed. His face was bruised, his helmet gone. Across from him sat a young human woman with grease on her hands and an old rifle leaning on the wall beside her. The alien spoke slowly. You were pretending." "Why?" She smiled, tired but calm. "We weren't pretending. We were living. We never forgot what it means to be human." Is this a military base?" the Varnak asked. She shook her head. "No, it's worse. It's a memory." The Varnak's eyes went wide, confused and afraid. A memory of what? She stood and opened the door, showing the horizon, where flames rose and drones flew like birds in the air. "Of what happens when you attack our home." Back underground, the Gauntlet AI continued to scan for enemy movements. Its voice echoed through the command room. "Threats detected in Quadrant 4. Activating buried artillery. Deploying Wolf-class drones." Above ground, the soil split open like a wound. From deep inside, a long metal arm rose and fired a glowing shell into the sky. It flew high, then curved back down, striking a Varnak dropship midair. The explosion lit up the clouds. From orbit, the Varnak fleet began to panic. Their ships were being hit from the ground. Communications were scrambled. One of their smaller vessels lost power and drifted into the planet's gravity. It fell like a stone and exploded in the mountains beyond Eden 6. The Varnak commander grabbed the edge of his table. How is this possible? It was just a farm. One of his officers whispered, "It's not a farm, it's a weapon." And far below, in a quiet farmhouse still untouched by fire, an old woman knelt beside her garden and pulled up a weed. She looked at the sky, heard the distant sound of battle, and said softly to herself, "You shouldn't have come here," because Eden 6 had been asleep for years. But now, the sleeping giants beneath the soil had finally woken up. The sun was rising over Eden 6 again, but the peace was gone. Black smoke curled into the sky from burning dropships. The once green fields were scarred with craters. The air was filled with the sound of drones, gunfire, and war machines, and in the middle of the chaos, something strange was happening. Men and women stepped out of their homes, not running, not hiding. They walked calmly, wearing old farming clothes, covered in dust. But then, one by one, they tapped metal bands on their wrists. With a soft hiss, armor plates unfolded across. Their bodies' chest plates clicked into place. Helmets covered their heads. The farmers were gone. In their place stood soldiers, quiet, cold, and ready. Their armor was old, marked with scratches and scars from battles long past. These were not civilians. These were warriors who had simply been waiting. A young Varnock officer watched through his visor from behind a broken wall. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. "They were pretending to be weak," he whispered. Another soldier beside him growled, "No, they were resting." One of the armored humans raised his arm, a small cannon extended from his shoulder. With no sound, he fired. The blast hit a nearby Varnock vehicle, flipping it into the air like it was made of paper. The ground shook. The battle was shifting fast. The human AI gauntlet had connected to every suit, every drone, and every hidden weapon in the colony. It coordinated movements like a master conductor with an invisible orchestra. "Targets locked," it said. A defensive grid holding, retaliation cycle beginning. In the wheat fields, squads of Varnock troops tried to regroup, but the land itself seemed against them. Trees opened to reveal turrets. Rocks shifted to show hidden bunkers. Drones zipped past their heads and vanished into the clouds before striking again from behind. The Varnock were trained for war, but this was something else. A trap built over decades. Powered by memories of old human pain at the center of the colony, in a circular clearing, a group of the armored humans stood shoulder to shoulder. One of them, a tall man with gray in his beard, looked around at his team. "This isn't the first time someone underestimated us," he said, "but it might be the last time anyone tries." His name was Braddock, once a captain in Earth's 3rd Outer Defense Force. After the war ended, he chose Eden 6 for retirement. But like the others, he had never really stopped being a soldier. He had just been waiting for the call. Another human, a woman named Reyes, nodded. "We trained for this. We built for this. Let's show them what a farm full of ghosts can do." The Varnock, now desperate, began to call for support from their fleet in orbit. But their signals were scrambled. The Gauntlet AI had jammed there. Channels hijacked their satellites and was feeding them false data. One Varnock captain yelled, "I need a full evac now." But his ship received no message. Instead, it received a virus, one that shut down its engines mid-dash flight, high above the planet. The Varnock fleet began to fall into disarray. Ships drifted, systems failed. And then a new sound filled there. Comes an old Earth broadcast. Playing a quiet human voice, "You attacked the wrong people." On the ground, Braddock and his squad moved through the fields with perfect speed and aim. Their armor glowed with power. Every step was calculated. Every shot landed. Varnock troops tried to run. Some tried to hide. But Eden 6 knew its own land better than any invader ever could. In one valley, a group of Varnock soldiers ran into what looked like a vineyard. But the grapes weren't real. The vines were camouflaged cables. The moment they stepped in, the cables came to life, wrapping around legs, dragging them underground. Screams echoed, then silence. The human defenders didn't cheer. They didn't celebrate. They simply moved forward, clearing out every corner of the colony with quiet focus. This wasn't about glory. It was about defense, about revenge, about home. In another part of the farm, the woman Reyes reached a cum station built inside a fake water pump. She pressed a button, opening a direct line to orbit. "This is Eden 6 Tactical. Enemy is contained. Questing status from Earth. Command." A short pause. Then a voice replied, "We received your signal. Reinforcements en route. Stand strong." She smiled. "We've been standing for years." Meanwhile, deep underground, the AI gauntlet spoke again. New data confirms. Varnak reinforcements detected. Arrival expected in 6 hours. Preparing. Next, defense wave. Suggest activating Ash Protocol. Braddock looked at the screen. "Are you sure?" Gauntlet replied. "They're bringing everything this time?" He sighed. "Then so are we." The camera system showed more Varnak ships entering orbit, larger, more powerful. They were angry now, humiliated, and ready to crush Eden 6 with full force, but the humans weren't scared. They were ready. Because the farm hands were never just farmers. They were the shield Earth had planted long ago, and now, the sword rising from the soil. The sky above Eden 6 changed again. Huge shadows stretched across the clouds as a second wave of Varnak ships arrived. Were bigger, louder, and deadlier than the first. These were the Dominion's real war machines, battle carriers, dreadnoughts, and destroyers. The Varnak Empire was angry now. They had lost too many soldiers, too many ships, and far too much pride. What they thought was a soft farm had made them bleed. And now, they wanted to erase it. On the surface, the human defenders looked up as the sky darkened. Braddock stood outside the command barn, watching the new fleet arrive. "They're coming. In full force," he said calmly. Reyes stepped beside him. "Good," she replied. "Now we can stop pretending." Gauntlet, the AI controlling Eden 6's hidden systems, echoed in their earpieces. Varnak, reinforcements detected, 27 ships, multiple troop carriers, heavy-class war platforms, intend to level the colony. A younger fighter in powered armor asked nervously, "Should we fall back underground?" Braddock shook his head. "No, we hold the line. This isn't just about us anymore. This is about sending a message." Above the planet, the Varnak admiral gave the command, "Begin orbital bombardment. Burn the surface." But when the ships moved into firing position, their systems blinked. One by one, the massive cannons refused to respond. Lights turned red, screens went black, the ships couldn't fire. Weapon systems offline. One Varnak officer shouted, "Targeting. Controls are frozen." The admiral stood frozen in confusion. "What is this?" Gauntlet's voice suddenly played through. There comes calm, human-like and mocking. "We told you. You struck the wrong place." Back on the ground, Eden 6's defense towers activated. Long rail cannons hidden inside water towers turned toward the sky. Anti-orbital missiles rose from silos beneath crop fields. Drones flew up in perfect formation, like birds returning to the clouds, except these birds carried plasma bombs. One by one, Varnak ships in orbit were hit. Some exploded, some lost control and began falling toward the surface. The Dominion had never faced resistance like this from a colony so small. It didn't know how to fight ghosts who had turned farmland into a fortress. Below, Braddock and Reyes led squads of armored humans across the battlefield. Varnak ground troops were dropping again, thousands of them, but this time they were scared before they even touched the ground. Their landing zones were mined, their walkers were jammed, their leaders couldn't talk to each other. And everywhere they turned, they saw humans who should have been farmers, but moved like trained killers. In one trench, a group of Varnak soldiers took cover. A strange buzzing sound came from above. They looked up and saw a drone falling. Slowly, like a leaf, it landed softly, then opened. A moment later, a shockwave wiped out the entire squad. No one even saw where it came from. This was not war. This was punishment. Inside the AI core, Gauntlet continued tracking every move. Enemy reinforcements losing formation. Confirmed. 40% of enemy ships disabled. Activating Falcon Protocol. With that command, dozens of camouflaged speedcrafts launched from underground bays across Eden 6. They weren't big. But they were fast, so fast that Varnak's sensors couldn't lock onto them. Each one carried a single mission: destroy command ships. In one of the Varnak carriers, alarms rang loudly. The admiral yelled, "They're coming straight at us! Evasive maneuvers!" But it was too late. A Falcon-class craft dove through the belly of the ship, exploded inside the engine room, and tore the carrier in half. In seconds. The might of the Dominion began to fall. In the command bunker, Reyes watched it all on the monitors. "He thought we were just dirt farmers." "She," said Braddock, gave a hard smile. "Well, we gave them dirt. Now let's bury them in it." The humans didn't just hold their ground, they pushed forward. They moved with old fury, the kind the galaxy had forgotten Earth once carried. Every defender on Eden 6 knew this was their only home, and if they had to, they would die standing in the soil they had once planted with peace. But just as the battle reached its peak, a new signal appeared on the radar. Single dot far out in space, blinking fast and heading straight for Eden 6. Gauntlet paused for a moment. New contact. Unknown class. Large human signature confirmed. Scanning. Us. Gland forward. "Is it a ship?" "Yes," Gauntlet replied. "But not just any ship. It's from Earth. Fleet code. Blackthorn." Reyes's eyes widened. "Blackthorn. They're still active?" Gauntlet answered. "They never stopped. They've just been waiting." Like us, all over the battlefield, human radios crackled, with a new voice, cold, steady, and strong. It said only one thing: "This is the Thorn Fleet. Touch one more leaf on this planet, and we'll cut down your entire forest." The Dominion had thought they were bringing the storm, but they were about to meet something worse. Earth's fury sharpened into a blade, and it had just arrived. The sky over Eden 6 was filled with fire. Varnak's ships burned as they fell. Their engines were failing. Their weapons were useless. All around the planet, human drones and hidden defense systems continued to fight back. But the battle was far. From over, then came the sound. A low, deep hum that shook the air and made even the Varnak warships pause. Far beyond the planet's orbit, space rippled like water. A massive object dropped out of warp. It was long, dark, and shaped like a spear. Its hull was covered in black plates with glowing red edges. It moved without sound, but every sensor in the system screamed in warning. The Black Thorn Fleet had arrived. On the surface of Eden 6, Braddock stared at the sky. He had fought in many battles before, but this was different. He knew that shape. Everyone on Earth did. "That's not just a fleet," he said quietly. "That's a warning." Reyes looked up beside him. They really came. "She whispered, "After all these years." The lead ship of the Blackthorn Fleet opened a channel. A voice echoed across the battlefield. "Calm, cold, human, to the Varnak Dominion. You attacked Earth's soil. You will not leave." The voice belonged to Captain Rourke, leader of the Thorn Fleet. His name had become a myth after the last Galactic War. Many thought he had vanished, but he hadn't. He had simply gone silent, waiting for the right moment to return. That moment was now high above Eden 6. The Thorn Fleet began its work. Sleek black warships moved like shadows. Their weapons didn't fire lasers. They fired kinetic rounds so fast, they tore through shields like paper. One Varnak cruiser tried to flee. Single Thorn missile caught it mid-turn and split it in half. No noise, no light, just death. The remaining Varnak ships started to scatter. Thorn drones, small, fast, and nearly invisible, latched onto engines and sliced them apart from the inside. One after another, Dominion ships were pulled down, destroyed, or shut off completely. Captain Rourke's voice came again. "You chose to attack a farm, but that farm belonged to Earth, and Earth does not forget." On the ground, human defenders cheered for the first time. The battle was turning. But Eden 6 had held the line long enough. Now, the sword had arrived. Braddock contacted the Thorn Fleet. "This is Eden 6 Ground Command." "We are with you," Rourke responded without delay. Hold your positions. We'll clear the skies. Then we drop. Within minutes, black pods began falling from orbit. Dozens of them. Hundreds. They screamed through the clouds like meteors. Varnic soldiers on the ground looked up and panic spread fast. These weren't bombs. They were Marines. Thorn Marines hit the surface in full armor. Each one carried weapons far more advanced than anything the Varnock had seen. They didn't speak. They didn't hesitate. They simply landed, aimed, and began pushing forward. One Varnock squad opened fire. Her plasma shots hit a Thorn soldier and bounced off harmlessly. The Marines stepped forward and returned fire with a single pulse. The entire squad vanished. In smoke, these weren't regular troops. These were Earth's best. Trained in silence. Forged in secret. The Thorn Marines moved like shadows and hit like thunder in one of the valleys near the edge of Eden 6. A large Varnock mech aimed its cannons at the farm buildings. It charged up its weapons, but before it could fire, a black blur appeared. Behind it, a Thorn soldier landed, placed a glowing charge on its back, and launched away. The mech exploded before it could scream. Inside Eden 6's command center, Gauntlet updated the situation. Enemy fleet reduced by 80%. Ground forces in retreat. Thorn forces advancing on all fronts. Reyes smiled. They're not retreating. They're running. Braddock nodded. Let them run. We'll make sure they never come back. Back in space, the final Varnock capital ship tried to send a message to the Dominion homeworld. It didn't make it. The Blackthorn's flagship fired a single rail spike. The Varnock ship was gone in an instant. Captain Rourke stood on the bridge, watching quietly. One of his officers said, "Target destroyed. No survivors." Rourke didn't smile. He didn't need to. "Good," he said. "Now let's finish this." On the planet, the battle had turned into a chase. Human Marines hunted the remaining Varnock forces. They moved through the burning fields with sharp precision. Eden 6 was not just holding, it was taking back every inch. In one last push, Braddock led a group of old veterans alongside the Thorn Marines. Shoulder to shoulder, old warriors and new legends moved together. Bullets, fire, and smoke filled the air. And when it was over, silence returned. The humans stood tall in the ruins of the battlefield. The crops were burned. Buildings were scarred. But the colony was alive, and the message was clear. Earth didn't just protect its cities, it protected its farmers. And now, only one thing remained. Eden 6's final weapon was ready, the Omega Protocol, and soon, the entire galaxy would witness. Its smoke rose across the sky. The ground was broken, blackened, and quiet. The battle for Eden 6 was almost over, and humanity had won. The Varnock were finished, their forces were scattered, their ships destroyed, their pride burned into ash. But something still moved beneath the soil. Inside the heart of the colony, deep underground, a room began to glow red. Screens flashed with warnings. Gauntlet, the ancient human AI, had activated its final defense. A hidden protocol, saved for only one purpose: full retaliation. It was called Omega Protocol. In the command center, Braddock and Reyes stood in front of the screen as it pulsed with light. A quiet voice came from the speakers. Authorization. Confirmed. Weapon system primed. Final warning: detonation will result in total orbital denial. Reyes looked at Braddock. "Are we really doing this?" Braddock nodded slowly. "They didn't just attack a colony. They tried to erase us. We can't let them think they can ever try again." Above them, the Blackthorn fleet was still in orbit. Captain Rourke stood on the bridge of his ship, watching the remains of the Varnock forces retreat into deep space. He received the message. From Eden 6, Omega Protocol, confirmed. Recommend Thorn fleet to stand clear. Rourke raised an eyebrow. "So, they planted that here too," he whispered. Then he gave the order. "All ships, pull back. Give them space. Let the farm show its teeth." On the surface, survivors of Eden 6 gathered together. Wounded, tired, but standing tall. Old soldiers who had lived in silence for decades now stood beside elite Thorn Marines. The colony had lost crops. It had lost buildings. But it had kept its soul. From a hidden silo buried under a rocky hill, a giant tower began to rise. It wasn't a cannon. It wasn't a missile launcher. It was something older and far more dangerous. Long metal rods lifted into the sky like fingers. Reaching into space, they began to glow, drawing power from deep solar cores beneath the planet. Air shimmered. The wind stopped. Gauntlet's voice echoed across all coms. Omega ignition in 60 seconds. Stand clear of upper atmosphere. At the last remaining Varnock ship, damaged but still moving, picked up the signal. The pilot screamed into his coms there. Firing something, we have to run now. Tried to jump to warp, but it was too late. From the tower, a white light shot upward. Silent. Perfect. It didn't explode. It just climbed higher and higher and higher. Then, suddenly it bloomed. Not like a fireball, like a star. A wave of invisible energy spread across orbit. It wasn't a weapon made to kill ships. It was made to erase entire fleets. Varnock engines shut down instantly. Their shielding systems failed. Their fuel cores froze. One by one, their ships became dead metal drifting through space. It was not destruction. It was silence. The galaxy had never seen a weapon like this. The Varnock had come with fire. But the humans answered with something colder, something final. A harvest not of crops, but of vengeance. Below, the people of Eden 6 stood and watched the light fade. The sky slowly cleared. The stars returned. Reyes whispered, "It's done." Braddock looked around at the burned fields, the wreckage, and the survivors. "We'll plant again," he said. "This land is still ours." Away, in the Varnock homeworld, emergency signals arrived. News of the loss, a complete failure. The defeat at the hands of one small colony. As the Varnock Emperor rose from his throne in rage, but even he could not ignore the truth. The message from Eden 6 had reached every corner of the galaxy. You may call Earth primitive, you may call humans wild, but never, never touch what they've planted. Later, as peace returned to Eden 6, the colony began to rebuild. People repaired houses, cleared the debris, and replanted the soil. The scars would remain, but so would the memory. And one day, a child walked through the fields with his grandfather. The boy looked up and asked, "Why did they come here?" The old man replied, "Because they thought we were weak." "Were we?" "No," the old man said, smiling. "We were just patient." The boy stopped and looked at the blackened tower, now quiet in the distance. "Will they come back?" The man placed a hand on his shoulder. "Maybe, but next time they'll remember what happened when they tried." The wind blew across the field, bending the young crops. Life had returned to Eden 6, and now every star in the sky knew one thing for sure. Humanity didn't start fights, but they always finished them. And they never, ever forgot a strike on their soil.